G'day everyone, and welcome to the National Railway Museum here in Port Adelaide in South Australia. In this episode, we're going to go take a look around inside and, well, have a look at everything that they've got on show and display for you to check out if you decide to come and visit this wonderful museum. So let's go inside and check it all out. South Australia boasts a rich railway heritage, and the National Railway Museum is committed to preserving the legacy that spans from the inception of the railways to nearly the modern era. This museum strives to encapsulate various facets of railway life. So a little bit of history. In 1964, the original museum found its home in Mile End, situated to near where the Adelaide Parklands terminal is now located. A passionate group of railway preservationists approached the South Australian Railways Commissioner requesting a parcel of land on the grounds near the former Mile End Roundhouse to house a modest assortment of retired steam locomotives. The first locomotive arrived in 1964, and by 1970 the location had officially opened its doors as the Mile End Railway Museum. Unfortunately, only a handful of exhibits were sheltered, and the relentless impact of weather began to take its toll. Consequently, the museum started seeking an alternative indoor venue. In 1988, the museum relocated to the Port Adelaide area and has remained in operation ever since. Over the years, it has undergone numerous improvements and witnessed significant additions to its collection. The site in historic Port Adelaide boasts an extensive collection of 100 major exhibits, primarily sourced from the South Australian Railways, Commonwealth Railways, and their successor, Australian National. Covering an expansive 3.5 hectares, this collection includes a diverse range of locomotives and rolling stock, representing various eras of the South Australian Railways. These exhibits span multiple gauges and are at various stages of preservation, with some still actively operational. Within the museum, you'll find a remarkable assortment of Australian railway heritage items, from locomotives spanning the history of South Australian railways, from the early imported narrow gauge steam engines to a unique electric E1 locomotive from the Broken Hill mine. Some bigger examples like the mighty express locomotives that once thundered through the Adelaide hills, pulling the overland and heavy interstate bound freight trains, as well as perhaps one of the largest garrets that ever ran on the narrow gauge network. There are even more modern diesels, which are still used from time to time to switch museum pieces. One of the locomotives on show is one of my favourites, 900 class leader, the Lady Nori. They also have different iterations of rail cars, from the Bluebirds to the Red Hens, as well as some Adelaide interurban passenger trains. The Red Hens actually used to run short shuttle trips up the line just out of the museum, only up until recently. As well as the impressive locomotives, they also have a large collection of rolling stock, including many different freight wagons, an array of passenger cars, guards vans, even a dyno car, and the carriages used on the royal tours. It's very easy to spend a lot of time meandering through all these displays, which are all open to the public, and are accompanied by the relative information to see how we once rode the rails. Speaking of rails, South Australia had 3 gauges: broad, standard, and narrow, and because of this, the museum has some very complex track and point work, which is a really interesting thing to see. Now there's even a model railway on display, although I do think that it does look like it needs a little bit of a refresh, but it's still a nice thing to see nonetheless. And lastly, there's even a ride-on train which circles the museum, and tickets on this are included with your entry. Now, aside from all these things, they also have a small maintenance facility, a signal box, as well as a collection of encompassing photographs, artefacts and documents that capture the rich history of the railways in Australia. All of which is displayed extremely well and frankly makes for a great day out. Now the museum is very easily accessible by car and there's lots of parking. If you wanted to keep it in more of a railway theme, the museum is about a 15-minute walk from the Port Adelaide railway station on the outer harbour line. However, in the near future, you'll actually be able to step right off at the museum. The museum is located on the former site of the Port Dock railway station, which opened from 1916 to 1981, with the only remaining part being the goods shed, which the museum does use to house some of their collection, and you can still have a good look through it. Now the railway line is set to return to the former site. With construction, at least at the time of recording this, it had begun, and the station is reported to open in 2024, and I think I'll come back when it is. Now lastly, the entry to the museum is $17 for adults, $10 for concession, $7 for children, and $40 for a family. There's also a number of events held at the museum throughout the year, so if you do want to find out more about them, as well as information on the museum, check out their website and social media, all of which I'll have linked in the description below. So the long and the short of it is, this is a great and very interesting museum to visit, with lots to do and in a great part of Adelaide. So I hope you've all enjoyed this look at the National Railway Museum in Port Adelaide, South Australia. And if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments. And of course, don't forget to be subscribed so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming videos. Anyway, I'll see you all again soon. Hooroo!